Hey everybody, it's Darren and Josh make a movie. We are here for Darren.
I'm so angry. I'm always angry. I
You're
said,
always
Josh,
angry.
I have one rule about doing a podcast, and I said there is absolutely no Zoom podcast. We're going to be in person. We're going to be together.
Yep.
And only there's only a few people I would break that for, and luckily today's guest is one of those people. But before we introduce her, I thought last time was a clusterfuck of us not being able to figure shit out. But here we on Zoom not being able. It's basically me not being able to figure shit out. And I
It was all you,
realized
dude. It was all
I
you.
am that old dude now that's just like, what in tarnations? And I'm like hitting buttons and
You should bring
I'm
Hadley
sad.
in. Bring Hadley in to fix your camera problem.
It's just I see myself and feel myself getting older by the second, and it kills me. Kills me.
Um, Excellent. Well, I'm really excited about our guest. I say we let's bring her in because we've got a lot to talk about, and we're gonna start breaking story for our film.
Surprise! Or should I say boo? I don't know.
We are in the beginning of our podcasting journey, and you've just kind of wrapped up one of your journeys in it. Why do I not get to listen to your show anymore? I was loving it so much.
You're the first show I'm actually on talking about it. We haven't really talked about it yet. It is, as you can see, a enormous labor of love, and it was just Scout and I. We had no producers, we had no team. We just did everything ourselves. From me making merch in my living room and schlepping everything and producing live shows to, it just was so much. And I think it's cool if you go back and watch the beginning of our show because we became friends when we started the show. So we knew each other for a bunch of years, but through the convention circuit, not really after filming because we've got a bit of an age difference. She's 12 years younger than me. So it was always like, oh, you're 18, I'm 30. I don't know. I want to take care of you. So we connected more during COVID, and we just were bored artists wanting to do creative things and had a great communication with one another and spoke the same language. And, I didn't even listen to any podcast. That was kind of the beginning of that world in 2020-ish.
Yeah.
And we were like, fuck it. It was a way for me to invite people to my house and talk to people while we were stuck in our home for 2 years. So we started that, and then we became really close and really good friends throughout the process of getting to know each other. And it just so happened that you guys and listeners got to know us along with us getting to know one another and creating that bond. So it was pretty cool. But, after a while, you're just kind of like, okay, now what do we do? And we had opportunities to do other things with it, but we made a movie and we used the money that we were able to make on on our podcast to make a movie together, and which we wanted to do for so many years. So we just, it starts to become work after a while, and then the friendship gets messed up and things start being weird, and, you just don't want to hurt it. So it's best to kind of go, we've grown apart a little bit, yet we've helped each other get there.
Yeah.
So we thought it was just better to kind of go our own ways and finally just support one another from the sidelines.
How many years? How many years was the podcast?
4 years. So we did 180 something episodes.
Well,
Wow.
Josh and I started drifting apart after episode 1. So I'm
so
excited. I'm excited to see where this goes.
Well, one thing that I loved about your show, and I encourage our viewers to go check it out and start from the beginning. But one of the things I loved about your show was that you guys were very, very open and honest about everything from mental health to the difficulties of working in this industry and all of those things. And we're only, I think this might be our 18th or 19th episode. But we had one episode on with our wives, and it got really dark. It got really dark.
You just never know.
Yeah, but the audience and the viewers were really open to it, and we're very supportive. And I realized that it's about being real and honest, not about being showy and hey, look at us.
There's so many shows that are produced like that, and I think that people are dying for human connection. And one of the things for me is I know all these people in horror, but I don't know anyone's movies. I rarely go see them because I can't just watch the movie. It's like I'm dissecting a million things. So horror has always been hard for me to sit through. But yet all my friends are from the business, from this particular business. So it was kind of a way for me to, like, there's a level of comfort with me because we're so close. And yet I could allow the fans an opportunity to sort of see them in a different light, which I didn't feel was really there was really no place for that yet, where I could get these, evil monsters or these kind of more, the Brad Dourifs, or that, even though he never did our show, damn it. That was like on my last list, and he promised me, there's a level of comfortability that I think Scout and I have with one another and with our guests, that they're our friends. So they would almost forget we were like being recorded. It was kind of like, the idea was like, let's just be a fly on the wall of, like, you see people out and you're like, God, I really wish I knew what that conversation was. Especially when they're famous people, you're like, I would die to be be a fly on the wall of that. So that was sort of it. And then it really resonated because things started coming up. And don't get me wrong, after the first episode, I had a freak out and called Scout and was like, I don't know. I'm scared. I don't know if I want to talk about that stuff yet. I've never told anybody that I was in a 12-step program, or that I did this or I did that or whatever it was. And I didn't, cancel culture was such a thing. And I just wasn't sure if I was going to fuck myself, or, you break down that facade and you just don't know. But I think people are really wanting to connect. And I have way more fun stuff to talk about at conventions now than like what Rob Zombie was like to work with. Like I can only answer the same shit so many times before.
Josh,
like,
Josh,
please.
Scratch that question off. Do not ask her about Rob Zombie. Whatever you do.
Can I just tell my very, very quick Rob Zombie story, which I've never told before. So one of my writing partners, Pete Goldfinger, who is one of my best friends from college, he's married to a woman named Jennifer Jostin. And Jen was one of the 4 leads in House of a Thousand Corpses. So when my kids were first, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that was kind of when she had just shot this movie with Rob. So we would all hang out together. I'd go to Rob's house for pool parties. Rob taught my kids, at 4 years old, how to make the rock on symbol. Like, I have photos of my kids on Rob's shoulders in his pool with him doing rock on. But the thing that I loved about him, one was just his insane knowledge of film was just another level of someone, but also how well-rounded his interests were. I had a 20-minute conversation with him about how he thought that Everybody Loves Raymond was one of the best shows on TV.
Oh, yeah, I'm not surprised.
Which brings me, what was it like working with Rob Zombie? No,
Dude, I will kill you. I will kill you.
You don't have to answer that.
Well, going back to podcasts and what you were saying, which I found, and again, maybe this is my becoming closer to being an AARP and just my age now. I find myself infinitely listening to more podcasts than I do watching TV or movies. I trained myself that I could not go to sleep unless I was listening to a podcast. And so the next thing I knew, I would binge. And I think I've gone through every true crime podcast that exists. And then after that, I started going down rabbit holes on podcast themes I never thought I would enjoy. And I probably listened, 75 to 100 full podcast shows, not seasons, but the entirety of what they are.
Wow.
What you said is that when I first started with podcasts, they've become different than they are now. And I feel like when you can find that podcast of humans just talking and you realize how similar you are to some of these people, the same struggles, the same hardships, it's validating for me. And I thought, that's when Josh and I talked about your podcast, and that was one of the things I liked is that you did get real, as I think both of you as this kind of final girl. And in some respects, I feel awkwardly like I grew up watching you from, what was the first movie? How old were you?
10.
And you've run the gamut from doing action films to horror. And then seeing this completely different side of you where you're vulnerable, it made me admire you, not just as an actress, but as a person. And I think the podcasts have the ability to do that, which you don't really see that in movies or TV shows. You're always just a character. But when you hear this and you hear that your guys' struggles are some of the same shit that we're going through, that you would never in a million years know that.
Right.
So congratulations on the long run
Thank
and
you.
keeping so many people entertained for that long.
Interesting about what you were saying about listening to things more than anything else. I think it's like I'm so overstimulated. My eyes hurt. My brain hurts. There's so much going on all the time. And it could be because my kids have the iPads and there's like, Roblox, Minecraft, whatever,
No.
brain rot, whatever shit they're
Yeah.
playing all the time. To sit and listen to those. I listen to all those true crime podcasts and all that stuff too, as well, mostly when I'm driving. But it's a chance for me to sort of use my imagination again, to sit back and close my eyes and see it, which is so much better in my brain than it is actually seeing it, especially with how elevated everything is on TV now. I love like singers and songwriters of the 70s and just I can't go and listen to music now anymore because it hurts my head. Like it's too much is going on at one time. So to go back to that older stuff that was just so simple and so easy and so just felt so like, oh, okay, I love this. I don't see that anymore. So maybe that's what podcasts have brought to people.
Joe Rogan said this, and I know there's a love-hate people have with Joe Rogan, but he said something that really connected with me as he was talking about, he wanted a guest on, and the guest basically said, yeah, I'll give you 35 or 45 minutes, whatever that number was. And he was like, fuck you. Part of what I do is I sit down and I'll talk for 2-3 hours to someone. And it's we live in this culture of instant gratification.
Right.
My kids are addicted to YouTube shorts. My kids are addicted to TikTok and all of that stuff where there's an immediate gratification. And it's become harder, I think, even for us as we go to parties to have a real conversation with someone because we're so used to 15 second swipe, 15 second swipe.
Like you'll get that fix. Which you'll walk away from it with that more than anything, like the chance to I barely talk to girlfriends. I barely talk to anybody about anything that makes me feel some sort of way. So my chance to sit with Scout once a week was the time that I could have that girl talk, that connection, that, that thing that I would need to have with my best friend. So we were sort of forced to take that with one another. And that's probably what made it great for everyone. But I think she and I got more out of it than anybody else did. And I hope you guys are able to have that same thing.
The thing that I am fascinated with is a side of your life that Josh and I have got an idea for a movie. And the whole purpose of our podcast is that we want to make a movie in real time, kind of from the idea of us talking about it to coming up with the pitch to casting it to eventually shooting it and walking an audience through that. And we are currently at the idea stage. And I think we've honed in on the two that we're going to pursue and follow. In fact, I know we have.
We have.
And one of those ideas, which is going to be, we're putting, I think, our main focus. So one of the ideas, we are going to go out and try to put together a producer, a cast, and sell it. The other idea, we're going to spec it out. We're going to write it, and we're going to then have a full script and spec that out. But the kind of basis of this show is about the con circuit.
That's the location of the idea. And Darren and I don't know much about that world, so we were really excited to talk to you so that we could just get some background, some
I could
stories,
tell you, I could give you everything you
I
need.
remember that the conventions that I've done, and again, these are, I've never done them like one after another. I did one after Saw 3, one after Spiral, and now this one. They're the camaraderie, the insanity, the bickering. I was fascinated. If anyone could do a film on it, I want someone like Christopher Guest, like a Waiting for Guffman, but in that world.
Yes.
But I loved the setup of something like Three Amigos. And if you remember Three Amigos, you have these three stars that they go to this town thinking they're going to go do a public appearance. And the next thing they know, the town treats them and embodies them as if they are those characters. And antics ensue. So the idea that I came to Josh with was, what if we start a show off or a movie off and we meet real people, the people that we know, the Kane Hodders, the Bill Mosleys, the Doug Bradleys, the Danielles, everyone you introduce them in real time. So I had this visual of Bill Mosley at a Kinko's, literally having his publicity shots as he's sitting there and he's doing that, and Kane Hodder as he's got a knee problem and he's going through security at the airport, and Tobin Bell is someone's trying to get a selfie with him as he's getting on the plane, and all these people we meet in the first 1 minute as themselves going to this con where there will be an inciting incident, which we don't know what it is, and they suddenly have to embody the characters people think they are and know them as. So you take, I'm making this up with Kane Hodder, but Kane Hodder, let's say, has bad knees and arthritis, but he's known of being, he's known for being these iconic monsters, the Crowleys, all these big ass people, but now it's him as Kane Hodder having to be Kane Hodder going after this thing. And I thought that would be an awesome, hilarious way into a movie where we're watching. So it's very meta. These people who we think we know on the screen actually having to do the things as themselves. One thing that Josh and I've talked about is really sitting down and talking to someone that does the con circuit. Because I'm sure within that con circuit, you have friends that you only talk to there, enemies who, when you see there, you want to punch them in their fucking face. Weird
Come
fan
on, she
stories.
doesn't have that.
I really do.
Garrett.
It's so interesting that you're bringing this up, because for years I've been trying to get my friends to write 2 movies similar to this, and I just don't know any writers. I might have actually teased this to Josh at one point. So I have 2 ideas. I have had this conversation many a times with Scout and other scream queens, being a woman, and I had this actual thing happen to me the other day where could I use the skills that I've learned from fighting off the monsters in the movies in my real life should I ever come across that, and what would that look like? Or am I a big scaredy cat pussy and would run and hide? I don't know, because I always play the badass girl. So we've thought about that. One of the other things that I've thought of was, aside from conventions being very scary nowadays with mental health, which a lot of that we could talk about, and that's changed and it's put a new spin on things. And, the lack, there's no metal detectors, and thank God there's no weapons allowed in. But there used to be many, many years, I have photos with people with real knives to my throat, and it was just laughed at and allowed, and nobody thought anything of it, The other thing that was always very creepy for us actors is, we sign on to do movies with independent directors and producers that we never meet. And you just know the money goes into escrow, and you get on a plane and you get picked up by some, girl named Sarah in a Honda Civic in the middle of Ohio at 11 at night when you land with your bags, and you get taken to a hotel and dropped off there, and you have no idea what you're signing up for. And nobody knows, because nobody's ever met these people. So there's a lot of really weird people and a lot of rich people that could do really bad things to some people that they think are unkillable, because they've seen them in the movies. And there's that weird line of reality and fantasy and not really knowing. And then how would we use our skills to be able to survive something that really happens? And then you've got your 3 or 4 actresses or scream queens or whatever, your killers that then have to come together, and they could, there's a lot of comedy in that, playing sort of fucked up versions of themselves, and the drama and all the things between, the competition and the who's the lead and who's got the dressing room and who wants more time in the makeup chair, and all that fun stuff that we do on set. So
Josh, I'm pulling rank right now and just saying we're casting her. She is the first official cast member to this HorrorCon thing.
I'm down.
Okay,
I'm down.
okay.
I work for scale. I keep telling you guys that do studio movies. It's not about the money. Just fucking hire me.
Well, you're hired, and I think that
Okay, go ahead.
For me, there's so many ways into this world, and the one that I think it started with the seed of an idea of the horror Expendables, and I think Adam Green has been able to do versions of it with the Hatchet films, as you know. But I am huge. I find my career really, when I did this immersive theater stuff that I did, the more meta I got, I think the more I was able to elicit a reaction out of a fandom. When you're self-aware and you're meta, and that's why, to me, in my opinion, the best Nightmare on Elm Street is Wes Craven's A New Nightmare. When it comes out, and Robert Englund is Robert Englund. That is Wes Craven. That is Heather Land. I loved that. Yeah. And so to take a page out of that book,
I think that's Robert's favorite too, right?
It is. I just saw that. Yeah. Because I think there is an easier suspension of disbelief, because he's not playing Freddy Krueger. He's playing Robert Englund playing Freddy Krueger.
Right.
And so I think that that is the way into the story that we want to do, is in essence, it's a horror Expendables where they are playing themselves. They are starting as themselves, and then chaos ensues, whatever that chaos is.
And to be very clear,
that's so fun.
We're not suggesting that that Kane is there and he plays himself at the beginning and then he puts on a hockey mask and becomes Jake. No, he's always Kane. He's always Kane in the movie.
Do you guys want the real versions?
We want the one
exaggerated
that's up to 12, not to 20. Not like
because I know these guys and girls in a very real way at conventions, and it's probably very different than what you would think that they were.
That's it. That's what we want.
Exactly
that's
what we're trying to figure out.
But are these guys going to want people to know that? Like, these are secret. Like, these are things that you're like, well, is Kane going to get mad at me if I tell you X, Y, Z, and whatever?
We're not asking you to betray your friendships or anything like that. That's not what this is about.
Well, here's a great example, and Kane doesn't care because he talks about this, but Kane's very OCD. Like, very OCD. Like, he wears gloves because he doesn't want to touch people. It's not because of he says it because it's the burns, covers up the burns, so people think, but he doesn't want to touch people. Well, he usually gets 2 rooms because he has to wipe everything down, doesn't want suitcases on the bed. Like, if you saw him in real life outside of him in his black t-shirt and jeans and boots, you would be like, who is that guy on the golf course in those Chanel loafers and that polo shirt? Like, I know that, Kane. No.
I know they are. And so I think that what I'm looking to do with this is I'm going to exaggerate in the same way of something like Being John Malkovich, where you are taking the idea of who that person is and elevating it. And I think that part of it is the people we're casting. And I think that there is when I was looking over who's going to be at the convention that I'm going to, there were some of them were the same convention I was at 10 years ago, which to me there is an all-star of, let's say, 50 people that go to these things. I need 6 of them that are willing to come in and make fun of themselves to an extent. I don't mean
6 in 2 seconds that are really good at and are really good at it too.
Yeah.
Danielle
Bill for sure would be one of them.
Well, you've just become a producer on the movie as well, so you're going to be a.
No, I don't want to be.
No, but I'm think
scared, Darren. I don't want to do it again.
What is your? Give me this. What is your worst convention experience? And also, you know what? Can you tell people what you do? Because I've never. So walk me through a
like a weekend.
Yeah. So walk me through that.
I'll walk you through
you pack your bags, leave your house.
If I would show you what let me just turn my camera around. Okay, you ready? This is mind you. When we decided to stop doing Talk Scary to Me, I had like a freak out and like ripped apart my entire office, and I threw everything that was horror related out of here, and it's now sitting in the middle of the floor, and I'm trying to figure out what I want to do because I don't know if that's really me or if that's who I think everybody wants me to be. So it is still that kind of, like but it's Halloween right now, so I'm going to keep it out for Halloween. But I have all this shit over here. Okay.
I love it.
That's all the merch I made this weekend. All the Talk Scary to Me bags. There's all a bunch of posters and a bunch of shit over there.
Love it.
My costumes are hanging in the closet. I've got a suitcase already. I've got spray bottles and blood and fake blood on the floor. I've got T-shirts with myself on them. All this crap I have to bring with me because we're doing a live there. So basically, like when I get off with you guys, I'm going to go online and I'm going to look at my box and see how many pictures I have. And I usually change what kind of choices of pictures I bring depending on the state. Okay. So I know I'm going to go to Florida. They're going to want more black, more blood, more biker chick, more tattoo photos.
Okay.
They're a little bit more, I don't know, a combination of Orlando and Daytona Beach, like a little.
Yeah. All right.
I don't know. Like that, wear cheesy sunglasses and have a Harley jacket, like those kind of folks. A little bit more edgy, maybe similar to New York, but New York, when I go to that East Coast is for sure more tattoo. But like if I'm more naked pictures covered in blood, like they're all for it. Like that's what they want. And then the original, Halloween stuff, of course, is always it. So I'm going to go through what I have to order, and I'm going to call the 80-year-old lady in LA who's been doing my pictures for a million years at Prince Charming, and she's going to print them for me out of her living room, and she's going to put them in a box and then charge me a lot of money, and they're going to get here. And it's going to be about, I usually gauge it depending on what my guarantee is at a show. So I'll figure out like how many pictures that would mean I would need to bring. And then I always bring 3 times as much because I haven't learned my lesson.
Can you explain guarantee? Explain guarantee. That's something that I'm not talking. If you explain guarantee,
sure.
Not to get yours, just what it is.
So basically the promoter will either contact you or one of the managers you work with. And all these managers are, no offense managers, but I don't care.
Offense to managers.
You know, these were guys that were like in line on my line when I was doing Fangoria a million years ago as kids. And now they're like, you know, it's like that's a whole other fucking weird, you know, ego trip. And this manager only works with that promoter and that manager works with that promoter. And they want you to be exclusive. And I'm like, I've been doing this for so long, you guys. If everyone has different shows, like I'm still going to be loyal to the promoter. So like East Coast, there's Dave Hagen who runs Monster Mania. Dave has been like he and Petey in Florida have been two of the guys that over the course of the last 20 years, anytime I had financial hardship in my life and couldn't pay my mortgage, I could call them and say, can I come to a show? And they would say, absolutely. And I would go and I would make my $3,000, which is enough to pay my mortgage. And I would wire it home. And I would be like, thank God I'm not going to lose my house this month, because jobs were few and far between, you know? So anyway, so back in the day, you know, you have, not a lot of promoters do it anymore, but some still do it, where they'll give an actor a guarantee. They'll say, okay, Danielle, you know, you haven't done a show in this area in a couple of years, and, you know, what's your guarantee? So when I first started, a normal guarantee is $3,000 a weekend. So you have Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Friday night, the show starts. You get in Thursday night. You know, you chill Friday morning, you order room service when there used to be room service. You watch some true crime TV, take a shower, get ready, put your makeup on, whatever, get all your shit, bring it down to the table, set up your banner, all your pictures. And
can I ask a quick question? Are you paying for your hotel, or is the
no? So
promoter?
the promoters are paying for the hotel and the flight. Some actors I know will use their miles and they'll have the promoter send them money for their flight, but they're actually taking the money and they're flying coach, or they're using miles because they're in their contract. It's first class. I just started getting first class like 3 years ago. And I was like, I'm just going to ask for it, because it actually might have been when I was pregnant with my second kid. I was like, I'm pregnant and I'm like miserable. And so now it's like, oh wait, I can ask for this and they'll actually give it to me. And it's sad because I am on the plane sometimes and I do see, you know, it's like I'm up front with Sean Astin and Ken Foray and, you know, and then Bill Mosley's going to the back, or, you know, Robert's in front with me and Felissa Rose is going to the back. Like, you know, Scout Compton going to the back. Like, you know, there's a weird, like, you know, they don't ask for it yet, or they don't think they deserve it. I fight with Dee Wallace. She was charging $30 a picture for 8 million years. I'm like, you're the fucking mom from ET. Like, you can charge $50. You're 72 years old, schlepping around shit every single weekend, flying coach. Like, come on, Dee, believe in yourself. So anyway, now she does. I think she charges 40, but whatever. So they give you a guarantee, basically pay for your flight, pay for your hotel, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night. I always leave Sunday after the show. Kane will stay till Wednesday if you let him. And then he just goes to the next one and he like hangs out and makes friends and plays golf or whatever he does. He just chills. He doesn't want to go home, but I'd like to go home because I have kids. So, you know, you set your price for what you're going to sell essentially. So I've tried to bring merch. I've tried to bring Jamie masks. I've tried to bring T-shirts or whatever other shit I could hawk. And like nothing really works. Like people just want 8x10s, even the 11x17s. They're like, they just want, because they don't want to have to go find a weird frame. So they're like, I'll just do 8x10s. Now with Amazon, it's easier to get the bigger frames, but back in the day, it was kind of it. And they're easier to travel with. So you bring all your stuff and then you set up your table, you set up your banner, and so like for me, when I started, I remember like my first time back in the convention circuit was 2007 after a little bit of a break, right after Rob's movie. And I was like $20 an autograph. So it's $20 for an autograph, one of yours they could pick from, or $20 if you bring your item. So if you bring a DVD or a CD or whatever, you know, a T-shirt or whatever it is, $20. And then it was, okay, now there's this with photo. So then it was like $20 or $30 with a photo with you, which is always a little bit weird. It's like, if you saw me on the street, I wouldn't be like, that's $30, you know? So it feels a little bit strange, but the promoters have to make, they have to make sure you make your guarantee. Otherwise, if you don't, they have to cut you a check. I just did a show a few weeks ago. Unfortunately, the promoter had a very bad show and was very upset, and he had to pay out my guarantee on a credit card, because I take credit card machines now because ATMs always run out of cash, and nobody ever takes credit cards. So that's the way to do it. You just charge the fee. Anyway, It's all a business. It's a crazy, weird business. So I sign Friday night from 5 o'clock. So I'll go down at 4, 5 o'clock till 10. Friday nights are fun because everyone's happy and excited about the weekend and what it's going to be. And everyone's saying hi to each other. And, everyone's maybe having a drink by like 7. You'll have maybe a rum and Coke or whatever on your table. And just a really good time. Right. And then everybody goes to bed by not everybody. I go to bed at like 10. Then there's the partiers that linger in the lobby, and I never partake because there are guests there that I don't do 2 things. I don't go swimming in the pool and I don't go to the bar because I'm usually by myself at these shows and I do not want to have guys with liquid courage come up and finally say what they've always wanted to say, which always happens. Ugh. Unless I'm with Kane or Tony Todd, and then nobody really bothers me. So, which is usually what I ended up being. I was in the middle of 2 guys that were my buddy. So nobody really messed with me. Or they thought I was, who I am on screen, which is not the case. Right. And so I always go to bed. I put on some shit on ID or whatever, some true crime, something, and go to sleep, get up in the morning, get ready, go down at 9:30, 10 o'clock. Some of the bigger celebrities will make their grand entrance, an hour later, and you're looking at these poor people in line that have been there for 3 hours, they have nothing better to do. And they bring little chairs with them to sit in Robert's line. And you're like, oh my God, it's crazy. Chairs and snacks, and they camp out there. So sign Saturday, and and then say maybe I have 2 photo ops and a panel to do. So I'll sign from 10 until 1, and then 1:30 I'll have a panel to be Hatchet panel. It'll be me, Kane, and Adam Green, and Robert Pentegraft or whatever, and or Tony when he was around, or whoever's going to be there. If it's me, if there's other Halloween people, they'll do a Halloween panel. It's whoever's there is what they'll make it up. Or if there's no real grouping from a movie, they'll do Scream Queens or some shit like that. Right. So we do the panel for an hour. Those are always my favorite because the moderators are always awful. And I like to just control with my friends up on stage and make it way more fun for the audience. And they enjoy it. So I've said it on some panels that are so boring. I don't know if you have too, but it's horrible.
Yeah, yeah.
And the audience doesn't want to hear about that. They want to have a good time. Then I go back to the table, and then it's okay, I have a photo op. So I have 2. I have regular, and then I have a costume photo op, which I just started doing about 5 or 6 years ago, where I put on the replica of the Jamie Lloyd costume.
Yeah.
With the mask, but then I have to check my bags because I have to travel with a 9-inch scissor, because I've trusted when I've gotten there before, when I do carry on, that they would have scissors somewhere, and then I've been hotels where they can't find any for a photo op, and I'm stuck using a kid scissor or something that you're people don't want. They want the scissors.
I would like the kitty scissors. That would be a great
I think it's
photo.
funny, but people complain and they're whatever. Yeah. So do that, and then I go back to the table, and then you sit there until 7, and everyone's looking at their watch by 6, and you're okay, you're just ready to get out of there, and they're coming over. The show assigns someone to your table that does ticks off. They got an autograph, they got a selfie, they got a this, so they know what the number is by the end of each day. So the promoter will get more and more stressed as he starts to realize that he might be fucked because he's doing the math in his head, Yeah. So, which is always scary. So luckily, I have a very nice guarantee now. I've only done 2 shows in my life that I haven't met my guarantee. So I've been lucky, but I always hate to be the one to go, hey guys, I'm so sorry. I don't know what to do. I know it's business, but I hate to ask you, but can you please, I need cash. Yeah. So then Sunday, a little, starts playing an hour later, 11, people are exhausted because they're partying all Saturday night. Right. Half of the guests are partying as well. And then with fans, without fans, just guests together, just fans together. I've heard the craziest shit in rooms next door to where I've stayed in hotels. All kinds of stuff happens. It's very interesting.
Dude,
Danielle's coming. She's a co-writer. She's a co-writer. I'm pushing you aside. She's coming in to co-write this.
The stuff that I have heard.
Even think about that idea of comedians travel from city to city and just sleep with somebody from their audience. I'm sure that all of these, or not all, some of these actors enjoy the fruits of their celebrity.
Of course they do. Do you see what some of these dudes look like that are famous but could never land girls in the real world outside of? And I love them. They're my friends. But like, you know, I'm like, how? Why? If they weren't that guy on that, you know, but that's a lot of people in the business, right?
Right.
So, you know, they want to be able to say that they did that. I luckily, thank goodness, for real, never actually hooked up with anybody that I did conventions with or at a convention. But, you know, I think that's a lot more. I think the guys kind of have a little more fun than the girls do.
Yeah.
Girls kind of hide or stay in the corner and have wine and then go back up to their room and, you know, and hide. So Sunday comes, everyone's all hungover. The crowd's a little bit like, whoa, you know, the promoters are messed. Everyone's like messed up from the night before. And then they start to like, okay, about, you know, 2:00, they start getting everybody out. Like you have your set times for your car when you're going to go to the airport, who you're in the car with. And sometimes you're like, oh, yay, I'm in the car with so-and-so. I get to talk, or, oh God, I'm in the car with so-and-so. And it's an hour drive. Also, you're getting in sometimes at like 1 a.m, especially if you're working, and then you get off and you're like, hey, look, I always do that. You get off right before the plane lands, you finally look at like who's going to be there and how far the hotel is from where the airport is. And you're like, oh my God, it's an hour and 10 minutes from the freaking airport. And I just landed and it's 1:00 in the morning. After you've been on the plane for 8 hours, that's always the worst. So we do a lot of that.
Yeah.
Most people look at who's going to be there like right when they're sitting at the airport about to get on the airplane. You'll start seeing people will start texting you. It's because you're just doing one that you looked previously. But if you did them every weekend, it's like, it's the same people, you know, so you're like, oh, whatever. Or, oh, yay, you're going to be here, you know, that kind of thing. So Sunday you do the show and then you make your way out and you get on a plane and, you know, you look in your money bag and you're like, whew, okay, I'm really fucking fortunate to have people pay me to do this because this allows me to do movies for no money and actually be happy.
So I'm going to drop a story of just my utter humiliation. I've told you I've done 3. I think maybe this is number 4. Maybe I've done 3, but the first real big one I did was London, and I got an insane guarantee, and it had to have been after a movie just came out. So it was either after Repo or Mother's Day. I forget which it was, but a movie just came out and I got a crazy guarantee. And I said yes. And
you can't say I got a crazy guarantee and then not say what the guarantee was, motherfucker.
Well, for me, wait. Stop. I'll tell you.
Crazy guarantee. And what year was this?
No, 2000, it would have been 2008, 2009. But I'll tell you, crazy for me because I've never done a convention. Not crazy. She probably makes it every single day. But for me, I think it was $15,000 for 2 days. Yeah. And so I was like, great, I'll go. But my big sell was I was going to be positioned next to Nev Campbell the entire weekend because our agent, the booking agent, rep Nev Campbell. Yeah. So I get to fly first class and I'm literally sitting with Nev and we're talking. We go to dinner that night and we're talking and I get sit next to her. It was the most goddamn humiliating shit show of my life.
Because her line wrapped around your table and no one knew you were there.
Her line wrapped around and it went like down the block and then there was nary a person, nary a fucking person at mine. Yeah. I had a promoter like every 5 minutes rubbing his temple as he's looking at my fucking thing and I would see him pull the woman that was taking the money because you don't take the money, someone else takes the money. Yeah. And I see them like arguing and then I hear a call go out. Darren Bousman is upstairs in room blah blah blah.
They're trying to bring people to you.
They're trying to bring people. At the very end, Josh, I think I made maybe $1,000 and they had to put out 14 grand on this thing. And I felt so humiliated.
You feel horrible, right?
I feel horrible. And they give it to you in a paper bag. So it's like literally this paper bag. And I was like, peace. And I felt so, and I didn't do another one for 10 years because I was so like, and here's what I'm running into this now with the Spooky Empire show. Me, Darren Bousman, I am not a celebrity. Some of the movies I have done have cult fandoms, Repo, Saw. And if you were to say Darren Bousman is going to do a Repo screening and then going to sign after the thing, I would sell that motherfucker out and I would have 1,000 people. But when Darren Bousman is sitting next to Nick Holt or Danielle Harris on the other side of me, I ain't getting shit. I do not have a cute clown girl Halloween costume.
Directors are hard. Directors are. I'm always surprised that they still bring directors to shows because you guys don't make a lot of money, and it is mostly them. Like Adam just did one with me a couple weeks ago, and he's there with all of his Ariscope stuff, mostly selling DVDs, selling masks, selling merch, and then they'll sign it. But when it's just like you're coming to get his autograph, it doesn't. It just people and. The last 2 years, like things have shifted, especially this last year. I don't know what it is. People are very tight with their money, and there's more really big headliners doing shows now, not just the normal horror headliners.
Yeah,
not
like Nicholas
just the
Hoult
Linda Blair and the like Charlie Sheen. Like there are people like I did one with Gina Davis and Susan Sarandon. You know, like they had a duffel bag of money, but it's like you have these people and all of the money's gone out of the room. So there's like a few different classes. Like it depends on the show. Like I just headlined a show, the one that they had to pay me out because they had me headlining, because people are like nobody else. They didn't want to see anybody else. So anyone that came for me, but that wasn't enough,
But this is the movie. What you were saying to me is I always think the best horror movies, or if you remove the element of horror from the movie still works. The movie is still entertaining, dynamic.
Yes.
You have just pitched me a world in which I think is fascinating because of the relationships, not because of the crazy fans. But I always was talking to Josh. One of the first idea I pitched was the hierarchy of first class versus coach. And I you see all of these celebrities that we grew up with going backwards to coach. And then all of a sudden you have Robert Englund show up, who's a complete tool. We make him an exaggerated version where he is just a self-righteous dick nozzle. and he's sitting there ordering champagne and
he would love to do that.
I know. And then you let him be the first one to die
too. So he would be like really dig in.
Imagine he's the first guy I want to kill in the most vicious violent. He's a bitch in the show. He gets killed like a bitch. And I'm like, but the story of a convention and the relationships that form, and you talked about the after hours, the only conventions I've done, to me, that is the most hilarious. I got to see Sid Haig and Bill Moseley as Otis Driftwood and Captain Spaulding officiate a wedding. I've got to see, people going in and getting fucking hammered. I remember I was with one of the Buseys, and I remember I was like, oh my God, like no one's going to believe this story. That is the shit that I think would be an awesome, if actors are willing to come in, poke fun of themselves on an elevated version of themselves and do that horror version of Expendables but them as themselves, not them as Victor or as Michael Myers or as Jason.
Right.
I want to see Doug Bradley as Doug Bradley, not Doug Bradley as Pinhead.
Right.
And I think that to me is the awesome part of it is that whole story. So first off, you're cast in the movie. We're done talking about it. Secondly, you are producing it with Josh. And so Josh, we're going to make that happen right now. But the stories I have
for you guys. It would be really fun to actually tell you all of the craziness.
There's also
the relationships between us all. And we have our relationships with certain fans that have been following us for many years.
I'm really curious when we get to the mailbag part of this, whether you recognize any of the 5 people that sent in videos.
It's the usual suspects, even with like my website it's the same people. I know all of them. I can guarantee you I know them.
Before we get to the mailbag, I have 2 questions about the cons. What has been the most, and I heard a story. I'm friends with a lot of the guys on Sons of Anarchy because I cast Dayton Callie, who is one of the main cast members. And I've heard some crazy stories. And I heard the best story on a Sons of Anarchy convention that they didn't have enough money for the minimum guarantees. And these guys literally became the characters of Sons of Anarchy. And I heard this from numerous people that were there, this literal shit show that took place on the con floor when they didn't have the guarantees.
Yeah.
What is your worst experience at any con? You don't have to give the name of the con, but has there been that one story that you're like, holy fuck, whether it involved you or someone else? Do you have that nightmare story?
I did have one similar where the promoter was doing a lot of cocaine and somehow, I don't know what happened, but hookers got into the safe and all of the money that was made from the hooker and blow party that was happening at the after hours on Saturday, they supposedly stole all of the money.
Oh
And then like the cops were there in the morning and like everyone was still high from cocaine and it was a whole thing. And it was a dead show. So actually, I think we were out of the country too. It wasn't Europe. I think it was Canada. So there's the, and then you have the show is overseas, not London, but mostly Germany. I've had issues with those shows for many years, but there was one time where, because they take your money and then they have each person's got a weird deal and they do some weird shit to you when you're there to like, you have to pay this tax and the VAT tax and the that, and this doesn't count. And then they take like 40% of your money anyway. Like that's how they pay themselves back, even though they're getting paid for the ticket entries. And it's very strange. And there was one time that I had to go and get Sid. I was like, I need you to come back here with these people because they're talking fucking German and they're trying to fuck me. And I don't know what's going on. And I feel really stupid and I can't do the math. And I need you because they're saying that everybody got the same deal. And I know that's bullshit. And they're trying to take advantage of me. And I need you to come in here right now and do it. And he was like, oh God, came in and sat down and we did not have the same deal. But he looked at me like, I don't know what you want me to do. Yeah. Like my deal's not your deal. I'm like, but they told me your deal's the same as my deal. So you're doing that where you're like, everyone's on the bus afterwards and everyone's like, happened to me when I was in not London, but in England, a couple of years ago. And I'm scared to go back there because it was the same thing. You have to beg for your supper because they take all your money. I got smart. I started videotaping my photo ops. So I count how many people.
That's so smart.
Yeah.
And when you're done, you're like, okay, bullshit. And now they pay you in a check. So, you're like, okay, you're telling me I'm getting paid for 75 photo ops when I see 93 people on here and I've got it on film.
Yeah.
So they're always try to kind of, not US promoters that I've seen. And I know the photo op guys here and they're all really great, but there's a lot of weird shit when they don't speak the language or there's other things going on or they take your money behind the curtain and you're like, what is happening here? It's a very, very strange world. But just so you know, Darren, I have two sat next to Nev Campbell and I had like two people the entire time.
The other convention I sat next to Matthew Lillard and that might as well have been kicked. That might have been kicked in the balls.
Greatest.
He's so nice. He kept looking over at me and giving me one of these things as he's smelling his thousands of dollars. And I'm like, my mother flies in just to have me sign one napkin because she's so humiliated for me. I
swear to you, I think someone even said recently that Matt did so well at a show. Someone said this. I don't know if it's probably not true, but his lines are so crazy. He and Skeet, especially when they do it together, it is craziness. They could buy like a house. Like you could buy a house. Like the amount of money is completely insane.
I need a sex tape to leak, or I need something to drop. Just something. Because again, I'm going to go there, and I know what's going to happen is you're going to walk over to say hi to me, and then you're going to get awkward when you see that no one's there and there's spider webs around my shit, and you're going to be like reverse robot out. Thank you. Okay, so last question for you. What are you working on? What are you working on now? So you don't live next to me anymore. You're not avoiding me. You're just in a different state. So what are you working on now?
I'm writing a book. So that's something I've been wanting to do for a couple of years. And I'm finally doing it, sort of ready for my third act kind of thing. There's a couple movies that I'm attached to be in next year. Again, they're still trying to find their financing. They wanted me to direct. I don't want to direct. So just trying to find directors, and I don't want to just hire a female director because they're a female. So just kind of keeping that world open. It's got to fit the tone. But a lot of the movies I'm attached to this coming year are more comedy horror and more fun. And I think, at my ripe old age of almost AARP as well, I'm just tired and I want to have a good time and I don't want to do the business side of it. And I just want to play. And I've done movies the last couple of years to make my insurance. And every time I do it, I'm like, okay, it's only 2 days and you're like, gotta just get my health insurance. But I'm not happy. I'm the only one on set that's ever done anything. And you're like, I don't know when I'm going to get that next thing, that next break, is that going to be in this horror world? Is it going to be in something else? They're used to, there's so much TV. I haven't done TV in 8 million years. There's just a lot of stuff, but I also went and had kids and, and really was happy doing that and was able to thank God for fans at conventions were able to keep my life afloat while I could be a mom. Because I didn't want to do those roles and bring that energy home to my kids. Or I couldn't
awesome.
do them when I was pregnant. You know, I didn't want to mess with that after years of trying to have kids. So actually my son's going to be 7 tomorrow. I can't even believe it. And my other son's 8.
Exciting.
I'm really looking forward to like being a mom. And, you know, I want to do like the football games and the grocery store on Monday mornings. And I want to do all the normal stuff, but I also want to go make really fucking awesome killer movies that I'm super excited to be in and get a chance to have people see me in a different way. And hopefully with the podcast, people are getting to know a little bit more of me versus like, oh, you're the girl from Halloween.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm excited about those things. There's a couple movies, so hopefully next year is really busy, and if we find money.
Hi guys, my question is for all three of you. So if you were to put all of your movies together and do a little bit of time travel and switching around, where do you think Danielle could fit into some of the movies that you guys have made? Or vice versa, what would you have liked to have done with some of the movies that Danielle made?
Awesome. I like that question. That's a good question.
That's a really good question. I think everything happens for a reason, and I think that our time is right now. I honestly believe that. I feel like I can't imagine anyone but the people in my movies in the movie, nor can I imagine you in the movies that you're in. So I honestly think that this thing that we're talking about now is going to be that movie for all of us. So I don't want to skirt his question. I'll let Josh answer it, but that's my answer is no, I can't go back in time and put her in a movie, but I can go forward in time and ensure it happens. So that's my answer.
That's a great answer.
Great answer.
That's a great answer. All right. Well, I've got a slightly different answer because I actually pitched the movie for Danielle to star in. And I've got the pitch open on my screen right now. This is going back probably 12 to 14 years ago. I wound up getting a chance to meet with Mustafa Akkad. And
love him.
I was a huge, Danielle, I haven't said this to you, but the first Halloween movie was the thing that made me want to be in movies. And it blossomed my love of horror. It's the only reason I'm a horror writer and have been for 25 years is because of my love of the original Halloween. And I was obsessed with all of them. Like I love them all, and I'm a little older than you, but I grew up like watching you grow up, which was really, really cool. Mm-hmm. So I got in, and I became friends with Clive Barker. I've written a couple of adaptations of his stuff, and I think he's a freaking genius. But I went in and pitched this to Mustafa. It was called Halloween in Hell, Michael versus Pinhead, MVP. And I wrote this entire treatment up with one of my writing partners named Bobby Florsheim. I'll just read you the opening and then tell you kind of how you fit in. So, this is the opening of our pitch. So, no talking, slow walking, night stalking Michael Myers goes head to head with Mr. Hell's Angel himself, Pinhead, in an all-out battle for blood. It's Smackdown in Hell. And then we brought up a poster of the film. If I can find it, I'll put it on the screen. But it's like a boxing style poster of Michael and Pinhead face to face with all of their stats, their height, their weight, their number of kills, their favorite weapons. And the tagline was, "This Halloween, they're gonna raise a little hell." And then I went into the pitch, but the pitch opens in a support group meeting. Is just underway, and we meet all of these group of characters that we know from horror films. So there was Jamie Lloyd, and I said actress Danielle Harris, and Christy Cotton, Ashley Lawrence, and they're all in this support group where they are talking about having to basically hide from the boogeyman for their lives. And they're and your character talks about, like, I'm the last one left of the bloodline, and we learn a little bit about the Curse of Thorn, and you go on, and then of course Michael attacks the group and kills everybody except for you.
Yes.
Because Christy Cotton is there, the Ashley Lawrence character, and Michael kills her in the opening scene, which creates a her soul was mine, and now I am going to avenge. So that's what kind of pitted Michael and Pinhead together. But you were the star, like you were like every scene is with you. And I pitched that to Mustafa, and
what'd he say?
He was like, I was just on my journey of making horror, so there wasn't a reason for him to find me, like to want me to do this. But he was so much like, no, Michael Myers. He actually gave me, as I was leaving, he gave me a sheet of paper. It was like, these are the rules of the Halloween franchise, and it was a very, very specific of like, you know, Michael Myers cannot talk. And I was like, yeah, I understand that. That's a rule I can follow. But one of the rules was no crossovers. So he was ready to say no even before I walked in the door. But I want you to know, Danielle, that was that 15 years ago, me was in a room pitching you to star in a movie, and it didn't happen. So there you go.
I'm still holding out. One day, like I don't know, I've had a really interesting career in the last couple of years. I've made these like full circle comebacks, you know. And yes, I already did Halloween comeback, but it wasn't Jamie Lloyd. You know, I came back on Roseanne after 30 years. I came back in Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead reboot. There's been there's some talk about Wild Thornberry's coming back. There's like little, you know, things. And I have this whole story of where I think I would be now and what I think could happen for Jamie at 50 years old. You know, it's coming up on the 40th anniversary of Halloween 4. So I'm still holding on to the opportunity. Would be so freaking cool for me to like be on a set and be, you know, I always think like, I know Dwight Little would do it in a second, to be like with him on set with Michael Myers and like, you know, just get to go toe to toe just one last time before I'm too old to do it.
I love that. I love it.
That would be so great. I root for it.
I'm crossing my fingers for you, because that is, I would love nothing more than to see that on the screen. Okay, Greg,
so cool.
Let's go to the next video.
Hey guys, Darren, Josh, Danielle. First off, happy October. So I'm sitting here trying to think of a question to ask, but when I was really sitting here and thinking about it, and maybe your answer to this question can help Darren and Josh out as well. You've made a lot of movies, but when you're watching movies as an audience member, do you prefer movies that are more grounded, more driven with like story and characters, or do you prefer watching ones that are more campy and more fun and more of that like popcorn type of movie? And also a little bonus question here, which of those directions do you think Darren and Josh should take with this next project? And thank you for all the hard work that all you guys do. I look forward to your upcoming projects, and I hope you guys have a happy and safe Halloween. And one last thing before I go, stripper camp absolutely needs to happen.
Wait, what's stripper camp?
Okay. Stripper Camp is what should have been the movie that it's my opus, and that's what it is. I just pitched it to you. That is the movie, Stripper Camp. I'm like, that sells itself. Like you see the poster.
You know, I taught pole dancing for 5 years. Did you know that?
No, are you kidding me?
And not only that, but I taught a bunch of crazy actresses out of my house how to strip and dance. Because S Factor was like a huge thing for many years, and it was a fortune. And all my broke, crazy girl actress friends wanted to learn how to do it. And, you know, I used to teach them.
I'll give you the two. I want to go back to his question. It's a great question he asked. I'm going to give you the 1 minute. Josh, I haven't even gone this far with you in it, but my friend and I, who he passed, he was like, I'll finance something for you for $2 million, but it's got to be commercial. It can't be arty farty. And so the idea is two brothers, and we see them as kids, and we see that they're always scamming. And like, it starts off and there's a garage sale. Here's the opening scene. They're at a garage sale, and this woman stops her car, and she comes out, and she's like, oh, this jewelry is very pretty. And she's going through the jewelry, and it says like $1. And she buys all this jewelry. And as she pulls away, they're counting the money. You hear a scream from inside the house, and it's the mother, where's my fucking jewelry? As the woman's pulling away, cut to 20 years later, they're the same rejects. and their grandfather dies, and he says, I'm going to leave my inheritance to you, and the inheritance is like $1 billion, but you have to run a successful business for 1 year. You have to turn a profit and run a successful business, and you have 30 days to figure out what that business is. And so we see failed business, failed business, failed business. In the very end, they're sitting at a bar and they're like, what the fuck can we do? And they're at a strip club and they see this horrible stripper and she's falling down and she's farting and it's horrible. And then they look at each other and that's boom. They buy a side of a lake. You've seen the cliche. They buy a side of a lake and they're like, stripper camp. Now, here's the thing. On the other side of the lake, there's the alternate camp, which is a ballerina camp. And these are like pretentious New York fucking ballerinas. Yeah. And the crazy Rastafarian bus driver accidentally delivers the strippers to the ballerina camp and the ballerina to the stripper camp. Antics ensue. That's the movie.
That's very fun and super funny.
Okay,
and
so
I see David Spade in my head. I don't know why.
Yes,
but.
yes. Okay,
yes, that's a great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so the question he asked was, what did he ask?
What are we leaning toward as far as tone?
Oh yeah, her. She asked, what does
Danielle,
she want?
What do you care about as far as characters you want? You already kind of mentioned that you were interested in doing something kind of fun, right? I mean,
yeah, of course. I mean, I have many years of like getting to play the lead and being tortured and raped and all these like high level acting opportunities to show like what I can do. And then, once you do it a couple times, you're like, okay, I'm good. I don't need to prove myself anymore. I can now just like go film somewhere nice. It's not freezing and I can wear normal clothes and just really dig into the fun. So I think there has to be an element of comedy to it now for me, because I don't want to take it home with me. It's just, it does weigh on me. As far as what I like to watch and stuff, I love true crime horror documentaries. I'm like Netflix geek out. I was literally getting my nails done the other day, and I was telling you in the beginning of the podcast how I had that like fight or flight, what would I do? And there was a guy, I was with my son who was getting Halloween pedicure, and there was I was in a very bad part of Austin, and there was a guy that kept contemplating coming inside, and he kept pacing back and forth, and he opened the door a couple times, and he kept like reaching in his back pockets and pulling up his shirt, and I thought, oh my God, this guy's got a gun, and I'm with my child, and it's 10 o'clock in the morning. He's trying to build up courage to come in here and do something. And I had that moment of like, I'm freaked out right now. And then the woman doing my toes goes, oh, this is where the murders happened. And I was like, what murders? What do you mean? She goes, the yogurt shop murders in Texas.
I'm watching that right now.
I get my nails done.
Oh my God.
She goes, yeah, the memorial's
awesome.
right outside. I was like, oh my God, I am never coming back here again. Because all I'm doing, and it's so weird because it's 40 minutes from where I live, but I just happened to find this place and I really liked it. And then I went outside, and I'll show you. And my poor kid's like, what are you doing? I was like, I have to see this. And it was their memorial.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. That's crazy.
Yeah. So as much as I love watching true crime and I mean, I'm like a Dateline 2020, like I am all about that stuff.
Yeah.
That's what I go to sleep to. I'm still really scared of this stuff in real life. So I tend to like that because it's fascinating to me and people are crazy. So I'm super into that. The real stuff, like the Ed Gein's, like that's the newer, the copy stuff, Ryan Murphy stuff. Like I don't really get into that stuff. I see actors doing great performances, and I think it takes me out of watching it. It becomes more of what they did with it than just really getting to know people. I just saw the Charlie Sheen documentary too, which I actually really liked. I think I just want to know people for who they are, and they're really good filmmakers now that do that. Otherwise, I'm like rom-com 90s. I like all the feel good, pop culture-y sort of.
Yes. Can I give a recommendation to you?
Yes.
Podcast. I'm in the same thing. I love true crime podcasts, but as I've gotten kids and I've gotten older, things affect me now that didn't affect me. That yogurt shop, that document, I think it's on Netflix, right? Netflix or HBO. It fucked me up and it upset me. I have a great podcast, and it's a narrator he's got 6 or 7 podcasts, and I highly recommend him because he's fun and he's going through horrific stuff, but he himself is fun. It's Keith Morrison. He's got one called The Thing About Pam. Listen to it. I highly recommend it. And then just go down the rabbit hole of all of his stuff. He does one about Hollywood, about a guy making a movie, and he ended up casting a killer in the movie for real. But if you just go down his name, it's Keith Morrison. And the thing about Pam, start there. I'm a huge fan of that.
I feel like I've seen this. I don't know why.
Well,
Keith
you should.
Morrison sounds so
Yeah,
familiar.
just make sure you'll know his voice. He's on one of them. He's either on 2020 or Dateline. You'll know who he is. But all right, Josh. Next question. What do we got?
Hey, how's it going there, Darren and Josh? My name is Joe Moody. I am a Navy veteran. I love all things horror. I love everything. Every day's Halloween for me. I'm a big fan of you guys. I'm a big fan of Miss Danielle Harris. So my question would be for Miss Danielle, how do you maintain your mental and emotional well-being after a demanding filming experience that involves intense or terrifying themes? Okay. I work at the VA hospital. I see veterans every single day, and I understand the importance of mental health. So yeah, I would really love to know and hear your insight on that, because you've been in the game for quite some time since you were a kid, right? And I do have a tattoo of Miss Danielle Harris. Look at that. It's Jamie Lloyd. Other than that, y'all stay spooky. We'll see y'all later. Bye.
Okay, this is a great question, actually, and I've talked about this a bit, and I'm going to continue to talk about it because I think it's super interesting and really important. So, first of all, thank you for your service. We appreciate you helping us stay safe. So we appreciate you and all you do. And I know times are crazy right now, so we thank you for your service and help for all your help. So it's crazy to me as I've become an adult to see how quickly I can get to that place of terror and emotion there's no preparation. It's 3 minutes in a corner, staring at the corner and thinking about what's about to happen before I'm able to do it. And what I think a lot of fans don't realize when they're watching movies is there's no rehearsal for that. There's no rehearsal for what is going to come out, right? You don't know how it's going to feel because you don't want to waste it. And the first time is usually the best. And then you can come in and you're feeling it, and then you're able to kind of get to the real, emotions and all that stuff. But I do blocking and then it's just like, okay, someone's, you walk through it at 50%, but then once it's time to go, it's time to go. And people are, I'm very tiny. So all of that stuff really helps sell it for me. And I always say to my fellow actor or stuntman that's doing the killer, monster stuff with me, like grab me, all of that helps me. If I'm doing a scene where I have to be vulnerable and I'm scantily clad or topless, or which I did in Rob's, leave me alone on the floor. Don't cover me up because I want to use all of that stuff. I want to feel as uncomfortable as I possibly can. That was when I was 30. Now I'm like, give me a robe. I'll do it for 5 seconds. And okay, we're cool. I'm also not showing my boobs anymore because I'm no longer 30. But what's been weird for me is I've had a harder time in real life allowing myself to feel things as easily. It's much easier for me when I'm on set to bring all that stuff out. So it's sort of an emotional therapeutic release that I'm able to get those things out of my body. Unfortunately, I'm doing it in a very heightened, probably very unhealthy way for my body, stress-wise. Hence, when I started doing more work as an actress in horror, because I didn't do any horror movies for 20 years. I only did Urban Legend. Between Halloween 5 and Rob Zombie's 2007, I only did one horror movie. Wow. And once Rob kind of relaunched my career into this world, I started getting all of these jobs. And it was my chance to be the lead again and to really act and to do all of these things. And that came at the price of me taking job after job after job after job. And I felt like I got to strike while the iron's hot and let's do it. I ended up with really severe stomach issues because of that. And I believe that there's some sort of correlation. It's funny because I just had surgery on my arm.
I saw that. I'm so sorry. That was horrific.
That was horrific. But I've had 2 surgeries on my arm this year, and maybe because I'm just getting older, but I think it has a little bit to maybe do with doing a lot of fight scenes and a lot of stuff that I just, really am not prepared for, and a lot of just physical stuff, So
can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I want to ask a question based on your answer you just gave because that's something I'm always curious about. Do you equate your time on set and the connection you have and the fun on set for a successful movie? And what I'm asking is, to me, movies have stopped being fun. I've Josh and I've talked about it a lot that so much of the time now I don't have a good time. I hate it, and I literally will call home and cry to my wife saying I want to do anything but direct. And you can see that versus when I go on set and it's fun and everyone is hanging out and there's this camaraderie on set. And that doesn't matter if it is to me, a very bleak horror film or just kind of middle of the road. If there is a thing on set, if those things click and you can feel that energy, the movie usually comes out better and is more successful. So, I would be curious about some of the movies that people, I mean, you mentioned, I just showed, it was so funny. I just showed our kids, the baby, Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
Yes.
And I totally forgot you were even in that movie. Do you, these movies that people know you from, whether it's the Halloween, the original 3, whether it is the new Rob Zombie Halloween, Hatchet, do you feel that you had a better working relationship with the people, the producers on set? Is there any correlation with you on that at all between your experience making the movie versus the success it had when it actually came out?
I had, well, one movie in particular, I had such a fantastic time, and I almost didn't do the movie because I felt like I was going to be shooting in New York. It was a month right before the holidays. I had not that many lines. I was one of a cast of 4, but I was in almost every scene. And I was like, I'm a glorified extra. It's scale. Like, I'm going to be fucking freezing. It's all exteriors, all night shoots. Like, I just don't know if I want to do this, and I don't know. And then I talked to the director and I really liked him. And I was like, you know what? It is what I make it, right? And okay, upstate New York's beautiful. Like, we're going to stay, the whole crew is going to be in some, rented out kind of a lodgy place that's probably run down. And sometimes those movies are fantastic. And if you get the right crew and the right cast, it can be the most amazing, fun, freaking experience. And it was a movie called Stakeland that I did. And it was beautiful and wonderful. And I stayed friends with all of those guys for many years. I just talked to Nick the other day. Like, I create this bond, and it doesn't happen all the time, but I didn't care how cold I was. I didn't care how tired I was. I loved I would get off at 8:00 in the morning. We'd go to the bar and have a whiskey before we'd go to bed. And I was the only girl, and I looked like shit in the whole movie. I didn't care. I just had such a great time. And I think you see it. So that was one of those experiences. I have had, horrible experiences on movies, not that many, thankfully. And I don't know if I'm seeing the movie through different eyes, but those movies did not find success. And the movies that did struggle a bit, like I know Rob did not have a good time doing Halloween 2, and there was a lot of stress and drama and stuff. And I was more upset for him that I felt like his dream that he had when he was a kid was sort of tainted, you never want to meet your hero kind of thing. And I was really sad for him to see this excited boy that was had this opportunity of his lifetime for him to do this. And he did it, and it was so good. And then he stuck in there through all the shit. And then he ended up doing 2, even though he didn't want to do it. And he thought, well, let me just try. And it was horrible for everybody involved. Yeah. I had a great time because I really love Brad Dourif and Scout. And I had a wonderful time, but it was a shit show. And I think it looks like a shit show. So, I think it has a bit it could have a bit to do with it. For sure.
That's a great answer.
Before the next question, I saw Stakeland at Toronto Midnight Madness at its premiere. I was very excited.
It's a great film. It's a great film. All right, Greg, let's see the second to last question.
Hi, Eric here. This question's for Danielle. Danielle, big fan. Love you in the Hatchet movies. Love you in Halloween, Urban Legend. And STK in Boy Meets World. You should have been in that a lot more. But anyway, question is, for the Halloween franchise, do you foresee yourself being a part of that universe again? And has anyone approached you? Has there been any rumblings? I would love to hear your thoughts. And thank you for answering my question. Bye.
So it's so interesting because it's like, I feel two different ways. Part of me is like, I want to keep talking about it because I want to manifest it. And the other part of me is like, feels really stupid to keep begging for my supper, if that makes any sense. Like, they know I want to do it. Yeah. Malik knows I want to do it. Like, I would kill it. I would fucking kill it if I got to do it again. Yeah. And I literally had this thought in my mind the other day, and I had messaged him years ago. I emailed him about an idea for a TV show before there was Chucky and all these other things of like, what could it be if Jamie was, whatever. And it was like, well, we've got this deal with Blumhouse and, there's other things going on right now. And, we'll discuss that another time. And then it hasn't come up, but, I always want to message Malik and be like, I was literally in my car the other day and I was like, I should just message him. Why don't I have the balls to just be like, hey, I know there's a new universe happening. Can you just give me a yes or no? Do you ever see me coming back? Yeah. Ever? And if you say no, I will never bring it up again. Ever.
Right.
I will say, nope, they don't, it's not in the cards. I don't know why they wouldn't. I don't know why they would. I don't know what's going to happen with it. They seem to be going back to the original a lot. I think there are lots of different timelines. I mean, I know every fan I see it, everybody would go see it. Then I was like, I was going to call him the other day and be like, why don't we just do this? Just Trancas. Like, why can't just Trancas do this movie and make it a $3 million movie and I'll star in it and we could do it like old school, like how we did it, how your dad did it, like back in the day before people were telling you what to do. Why can't we just make that happen? And then you keep all the money. Like, doesn't that make sense? Like, why would you want a studio to do it when they take power and like, you are the one that takes care of this film. Yeah. So the way Mustafa did, who was wonderful to me, I used to go to his house and, his daughter, Lana, was my best friend growing up. And I would I was the only time I ever could be a normal kid was when I would go hang out in the summers with them. When I was living in New York, I would go stay at their house and, talking about Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, that's one of the only movies that I was ever allowed to be a kid on set. Like we'd swim during lunch break and, and ride our bikes on set and do all that stuff. But I absolutely would love to. I even flew to the premiere, by myself. Malik invited me and I was like, I want to talk to him in person to be like, okay, I would love to, but I don't think he loves hearing me talk about Jamie, and it's weird. I don't know. I'm like, what, did I do something? Was it because I didn't do Halloween 6? Was it because I talked about not getting residuals? Like who is mad at me? Because I've always been down. But the opportunity hasn't presented itself yet. So maybe, unless I did something I don't know, which is possible.
One cautionary tale. And again, Josh and I've talked about this quite a bit. People kept asking me for 10 years, would I ever go back to Saw? And I started to say the same things you did. And I guess be careful what you wish for, because I got to go back to Saw. And to me, it was the worst of all my Saw experiences.
Oh, no.
Not because I'm not proud of the movie.
I am. The screenwriter.
The screenwriter was terrible. No, and by the way, I've never more lucky in my life to work with Chris Rock and Samuel Jackson. That to me is such a thing. But I felt like Saw 2, 3, and 4 was a high. It was #1 movie in America. It was my creative vision. And then I came back and I did Spiral. And it's partially my vision, partially a big chunk of it not my vision. And I don't know if it tainted the fans' relationship with me, because so many of the fans were upset. They were like, well, why did this happen? And why did you guys do this? And if I would have left when I left, I would have left as the guy that had
that legacy. Yeah.
Well, I always joke, I made the most successful Saw movie, and now I've made the least most successful Saw movie. And so just the thing is, I would love to see you personally return to the Halloween franchise, because I think it's badass that you've played different characters in the Halloween franchise. Yeah. But
do you think that messed it up though?
I
do you
don't
think
so.
that ruined it?
Not in horror. No, not in horror.
No, I don't think so
absolutely
at all.
It's not.
And I wrote a Halloween or I rewrote a Halloween script for Malik. And I remember in the room even talking about how much I loved your performances as
Did he say no? She's never coming back.
I got the feeling that he really loved you when we were talking. I mean, I spent a year. We did this movie called Halloween Asylum, where Michael gets arrested and is put into the electric chair. It was like the whole idea was like the poster was Michael in an electric chair. But I had conversation with him and he loves you. So I don't know
Malik
what that
and I
is.
are great. And I think people think that maybe we're not, or there's like something weird because I haven't been in, but it's like maybe just the opportunity hasn't presented itself yet. They've been on a different thing. You know, I've let it known, like, of course I would love to, you know, and whatever, if there was anything weird from Halloween 6, like I was like 16, you know, I didn't know if I did something or said something, or, you know, my mother did something, or an agent did something, and at that time Malik wasn't even really involved. I mean, it was still Mustafa and, you know, Paul Freeman and those guys back in the day who I loved and loved me. So
I know how to answer this.
Yeah,
I know how to answer this. We make a sequel to Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, and then it doesn't matter. All bets are fucking off because it's entirely new canon. Josh, I have to leave in 10 minutes because I have a DGA thing. Let's go to the last question.
All right.
Hey, Danielle, it's Gabe. Long time no see. How are you? I see you're also a friend of Darren's and Josh's. Small world. I actually wanted to know, I know I asked you at New York City Horror Film Festival if there was a memorable moment you had with Donald Pleasence, but was there any point in the filming that, like, you felt was, I don't know, like educational learning with him, working with him, or inspirational, anything about him? I don't know. It's just Donald Pleasence is one of my favorite actors of all time, up there with Tobin Bell, Gary Oldman, and Vincent Price. And I would love to, I don't know, hear more about stories about him from behind the scenes from Halloween, something memorable, something even scary, something beautiful even. If you have any good stories about him, I would love to hear more of those.
Gabe. I'll see you in New York. Gabe, I'll see you in New York. Okay, so I unfortunately don't have a lot of Donald Pleasence stories because I was 10 and he had nothing to talk to me about. But I have I'll give you one funny story. And by the way, I saw Halloween 5 last year. I guess I hadn't seen it in a couple of years. It's coming out in the theaters, by the way. 4 and 5 is screening in the theaters. And I'm like, I'm going to go see it. I don't know if I should take my kids. I'm probably not going to, but, and there's a scene in Halloween 5 where Donald's like, tell me what you know, Jamie. And I've said this at panels before, and he's doing his thing. And I remember having this like weird look on my face, and I was like, what is that smell? And it was the first time that I had smelled bourbon on his breath. And I had actually asked Dwight Little when I did a movie with Robert Englund and Bill Moseley called Natty Knox a couple years ago, and it was so great, and unfortunately we couldn't promote it because the SAG strike and shit. But yeah, I said, tell me, Dwight, what was it like to direct Donald Pleasence? Like, I'm so curious as a director now, as an adult, do you have any stories for me? All he said was Donald was great until 2 a.m. And then it was difficult. So we had to find ways to keep him going. And I was like, okay, I totally get it. So, and the reason why I know that it was bourbon is because on Halloween 5, he was only there the first week and then he was done. And I had, I think 2 or 3 more weeks left. And I was in a triple banger. We had one room for me, one room for school, one room for the boy that played Billy, which are tiny. Even people listening, they're like little three rooms in one trailer, essentially. They're tiny. And when Donald was done, he invited me in the trailer and we were talking, and I was so enamored by this like 40-foot Winnebago with like a bed in the back, you know, like he had a bed on wheels, and it was a refrigerator, and I'd never been in one before. And he said to me, I was just looking at everything, and he said, you know, well, I'm done tomorrow, and you're going to have this trailer because you are the star of this movie, Danielle. And he made them give me his trailer for the rest of the movie. And I opened up the fridge and I saw the bourbon bottles. So I was like, oh my God. But it was something that just meant a lot to me and him. And, you know, I think I don't know. I have this level of like, I think between Halloween 4 and 5, I grew up so much in some weird way that it just felt very like I've made it. Like I have this thing, and it was really cool. So that was really kind of him to do that for me.
That's a great story. Before Daniel, before Darren needs to leave, and I know you have a heart out now. Also, one last question came in, is an email. Eduardo Bringus asked, "Hey Danielle, greetings from Mexico City. I always wanted to ask you, if you hadn't been Michael's niece, what character would you have liked and played, and why? Big fan of your work." And I would even say, not even thinking about Halloween, but like, is there a movie or a role that you've like I wish that I had written and directed Jerry Maguire. Like that's my dream film. Is there a role or a franchise that you're just like, God, I wish I was in that?
I mean, only movies that like I've gotten beat out on that I like was really upset. Which Nev Campbell beat me out on 2 of them. Speaking of that, I cried.
We're not bringing her on. We are not bringing her on.
I screen tested against her for The Craft, and she got that after she got Party of 5 over me. I think they're little. It's not really about one particular role. I think it was more for me about like seeing a lot of the girls that I grew up with. Make that transition into being famous or being super successful and consistently successful. And I just wondered like what went wrong or what happened. I don't know if it's because I'm 5 feet and petite, and maybe it was like they didn't know. I remember like meeting with Dick Wolf one time to play this attorney and on a show, and he was like, "You're just so tiny. I don't know if I buy it." And I was like, "But how great is that? Like I could go into a room and school these fuckers. You don't understand. Like you don't judge a book by its cover." And I just they kind of couldn't really get it, So it's more about wishing I'd had the opportunity to have a show like Love had, or All the Girls That I Used to Beat Out, or did a cover of a magazine with Scarlett Johansson and Jessica Biel and Kirsten Dunst and me. Like any one of their careers would have been fantastic. So, but what are they doing now? And a lot of these girls that had it are I'm happy to see some of them still in it and back, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to get my Demi Moore or my Pam Anderson moment. That maybe it's just now's the right time for that stuff. So it's not really one specific role that I was beat out on or that I miss doing.
That's a really good point. I especially about the Demi and those films happening so late in their career trajectory, but they are incredible. And I would say that the Dick Wolf thing, that's really too bad, because like one of my favorite moments in any movie ever is when Clarice Starling steps into the elevator with all like she's just surrounded by G-men that are like 2 feet taller than her. And you're just in that awkwardness of all of these huge men and this diminutive woman, and it's what made the movie for me.
I've done it, but I've only been given the opportunity to do it in the horror genre. So I've taken it and been happy to take it. Yeah. And if that's where I have to stay, now that horror is getting finally recognized for the art that it is and how hard it is to make these movies, maybe I will have that opportunity to have that kind of role that's seen by others outside of the love that I've gotten from guys like you and from my friends that make these movies because they love these movies. And that's the greatest thing about horror, is that it's not directed by a comedy director or someone that like doesn't live and love horror movies. Everyone that directs these are fanboys or fangirls, and that's why I think they're so special. So,
I've never been more confident in a relationship that is about to form than I am the relationship of this podcast and you marrying for what we are about to go do. And I think that this is going to be the first of numerous conversations off air as well, of us putting this thing together, because I know that Josh and I both have talked off air that we want to work with you. And I think
love it.
And this, like I said, there was a reason we've not done something in the past, and it's leading to right now. So I am excited that you didn't avoid me on my street because you moved a bunch of states over.
No,
And-
I wanted to come over
now-
more.
Now she's gonna avoid you in Orlando this week.
She's gonna see my table. She's gonna see my table and be like, "Ugh," and then like walk the other way. But she
I
sees
will
no
help
one is
you.
there.
I'm the one that everybody sends everybody over to when they like need someone to kind of guide them through the craziness. So I will be there, and I'll have my kids with me. And are you coming by yourself or your kids?
I'm coming myself because they have all of their Halloween friends that they go out with.
Yes.
Oh, look at that. There's
yes. I'm Disney cruising before I go to the show, so I will be on the cruise for Halloween, and then I will be at the show.
I will be angry and upset, and I'll just be me then. So I will see you there, Josh.
I'll see you there.
Danielle,
Josh,
we cannot thank you enough.
Of course.
You are an inspiration, and really, I have to say again, and goes back to the topic of just why I was so excited to have you on, was that it's just how wonderful it was to have somebody in my ear for 4 years that was just open and honest and not hiding and spitting truths, and it was really nice. So thank you.
And listen, we're on a group text, so don't block me on this group text, Darren.
I will not.
And I'm awful on email, and I'm very rarely on Instagram. So I just happened to harass you guys because I wanted to make sure I got on before the October was over. So in our group text, shoot me text messages, and I will reply with random shit and voice messages and any kind of ideas or things that you're like thinking or questions about as you guys are creating stuff. I'm more than happy to share my stupid, silly stories with you.
Thank you so much.
Love it.
Love you.
Thank you
so much.
Thanks,
Thank you,
guys.
everyone.
Later,
Love
Darren.
you too.
Thank you,
Bye.
Greg.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Greg. Bye.
Bye.
That's a wrap on today's episode. Please give the show a follow, and if you could leave a rating or a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, each post helps us reach more listeners like you. Another way to support us is to join the crew at djmakeamovie.com. We'd love to hear from you. Follow and join the conversation at DJ Make a Movie on all social platforms. Let's make a movie together.
Darren and Josh Make a Movie, Season 1. Hosted by Darren Bousman and Josh Stolberg. Produced by Addison Marshall. Email the team at djmakeamovie@gmail.com. To watch on video and enjoy all the visuals you may have missed listening to the audio version of the show, subscribe to the Darren and Josh Make a Movie YouTube channel. Thank you for joining.
Oh, yes. There will be blood.
No, it's not creepy at all.
I run a house with 50 crazy bitches. Taught them to survive.
This is real blood!
You're hallucinating.
It is real.
This is okay.
That girl really needs to learn to keep her mouth shut.
A man with the shudder. That is disgusting.
Is that a fucking piranha?
They took my penis! They took my penis! Oh, I wish I hadn't seen that. You haven't seen anything yet. You want to play games, motherfucker?
Citrate comes in a little glass vial.
Hallelujah! Darren and Josh Make a Movie.
Cut, Casper. That's a wrap.